What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, invading California for Namm 2020. We are at Metal Allegiance, and we are here with Andreas of Sepultura. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here. Your newest record is Quadro, which is coming out this year. What I was curious is, do you consider this just like a direct continuation of Machine Messiah, or do you think that this is kind of like its own entity in the Sepultura catalog?
No, I think it is a continuation of Machine Messiah. You know, we had a great experience working and writing the material. It's the third album with Eloy Casagrande. Machine Messiah really did open a lot of new possibilities for Sepultura. That's why we chose Jens Bogren to work with us again, because we felt we could explore and develop a lot more the ideas that we did and used on Machine Messiah. So basically we took, I think, 4 songs from Machine Messiah and developed them in 4 different sides of a supposedly vinyl release album, side A, B, C, and D. So side A is a lot more trashy, more fast, like the song I Am the Enemy. Side B, it's a little more groovier with the stuff from Roots and Phantom Self, for instance, Side C is more connected to our instrumental world, like especially Iceberg Dances, from Machine Messiah. And side D is more connected to the song Machine Messiah that opens the album, slower pace, more vocals, more melody. So yeah, it is kind of an influence or an inspiration from what we did in Machine Messiah, and really try to explore and develop even further.
I noticed that there are like some concepts that drive a Sepultura album. Like I know that Alex was based off of like a Clockwork Orange, and I know that Dante was based off of the Divine Comedy. So, sometimes do you think of this concept beforehand, and that maybe that could help determine the outcome of the music?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think one of the first things that when we start something new is to find a concept, a direction, a goal, so what we're going to do. We're going to do something, whatever, old school. We're going to do an acoustic album. We're going to do, don't talk about Satan or love, whatever, Whatever topic of subject we will follow. That helps, of course, to find the right song to represent those ideas, And with Quadro, it was no difference. I think more than a year ago, like 14 or 15 months ago, I started to look for the concept, the direction. And numerology and numbers, brought me to this book called Quadrivium. We didn't do an album about the book Quadrivium, but Quadrivium was really the beginning of this quadra concept, Quadrivium, it's a book that talks about the 4 liberal arts, which is mathematics, geometry, cosmology, and music. It's very interesting. It's a fantastic book, And you have all the meanings from the numbers and everything, and that really inspired, to come up with the concept of quadra, inspired by geometry and numbers.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Do you try to leave the album, I know you're not the vocalist, but do you like to leave the album open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe engage the listener into the story of what the album's about?
No, we have one point of view, I think the concept is very wide. We talk about life itself, basically, because quadra, it's a word in Portuguese which means sports court,
Yep.
Like basketball court or tennis court, which is a delimited area with a set of rules where the game takes place, which is life itself. I mean, Brazil is a quadra, the United States is a quadra, and there's a lot of little quadras inside the United States. The states are so different from each other, and in the end, we're just let's say, victims of our own cultural baggage. I went to a certain school in a certain country and, watched certain movies, and we have a certain religion that are more popular than the other, and we have different views of society and etc. So we should respect that. That's what Quadra brings. And the question is, why do we believe in the stuff we believe? Where these ideas came from? I think it's a good question to question yourself. Why do we defend those ideas of, basically majority of the ideas we have in our minds were implanted by education, like school and whatever any other source.
I heard in art school that we as humans are technically not meant to read and write. That was actually I learned that in art school. My teacher said, if you have trouble reading, that means you're closest to the original roots.
Fantastic, yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's one of the quadra concepts, How many months, you go to school as a child to learn that it's A.
Yeah.
You know, to learn how to write, and this is that. It's like really going towards one direction. And we travel, we have different codes, like the Japanese or Russian, you know, we have different alphabet and stuff like that, and different way of expressing the same kind of feeling. You know, that's why translation is so weird, because it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it depends on the context and everything. So yeah, I mean, the fans really are always expecting the unexpected from us. You know, we always bring something new, because we're always looking for something interesting to talk about. And so on the lyrics, you know, we talk about depression, we talk about politics, prison system. We have a song making an homage to Muhammad Ali, you know, which is an amazing human being that inspired and keep inspiring us so much, you know, and etc. You know, we have a wide variety of lyrics that Derek really chose on very specific subject to each one of them, and because the concept's so wide, you know, we could talk about everything. You know.
And kind of going back to what you said, you know, reality seems to be like what the majority of people deem it to be, not necessarily the best or most logical, but whatever has been planted to us on society as a whole.
And you see how many changes, you know, political changes and religion and economics, you know, you see China or whatever changing the political system, or in Russia as well, and then the school changes completely. You know, it's a whole different education, and this is something that people just have a tendency to accept as the only truth. You know, oh, this is the point of view of the world, and is that the only one? All the rest are weird, you know, let's bomb them. Yeah, basically, that's the, you know, I mean, what is weird, what is, you know, create phobias and stereotypes, you know, that creates animosity and my God is better than yours, this type of stuff, you know. So we should be a little more, you know, humble in that respect, because we are, like I said, I mean, just victims of what, you know, we learned.
Yeah, of course. That's a very interesting. I'm not going to listen to that record now the same.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Yeah. Now, as for your guitar soloing, I feel like your guitar solos convey like just as much emotion as like the lyrics. Like to this day, I was, you know, I wasn't born yet when Arise came out, but like I still get goosebumps when I hear the solo for Desperate Cry.
Awesome. Yeah,
and then like and then, you know, when you like the riffs in the song What I Do off Alex, like, I mean,
cool.
Yeah, you could get into if you get into a fight when listening to that song, just say that you were listening to that song. So,
awesome.
Like, for your guitar soloing, do you have like a theoretical background, like I'm working off of this scale and this chord progression, or is your guitar work rather improvised?
I think a little of both, you know. I have some theory, of course, that I acquired, you know, studying with different teachers, and I study classical guitar as much as I can till today. You know, I love the instrument, and you know, you play songs from all over the place, and 600-year-old song, whatever. It's fucking amazing, you know, interesting. And on guitar as well, you know, just like always learning, always keeping my mind, you know, open. We travel so much, we see so many different bands, you know, we go so many different places. And lately, I'm taking more care about my guitar playing, you know, really conceive more leads and really think a little longer, you know, instead of just like the improvisation and whatever, you know, which I used to do a lot, you know. So yeah, it's great. I mean, music is something that you always really learn something new, you know, regardless of your age or your experience, you know. And it's great, you know. It feels really like our best momentum, you know, musically speaking. Having Eloy Casagrande in the band, you know, it's amazing musician that brought, you know, so many new possibilities for my guitar playing and writing process, and it's great. It's exciting, you know.
Yeah, and I gotta ask this because you have so many albums now. Does it get harder to put a set list together with each album you put out? Because I don't think I ever hear stuff off of Roarback or Dante or Alix or like.
Yeah, we should play a little more of those. There's a lot of great songs, you know, hidden on those albums and stuff. But yeah, it's harder because we have more, of course, more songs. But again, once you have a concept, everything falls into place, because now of course it's quadra. We're gonna play much of quadra as we can, and all the rest is gonna have to be around that. So that facilitates a lot, to try and choose the right song at the right place.
Yeah, and then of course you have to bring some classics from Chaos AD.
Of course, yeah, we have to play those songs because you have to be there, and then we love to play them as well.
Yeah, of course. And kind of like going back to this concept, because we mentioned like spiritual and political. Like I know that Manifest was based off of the prison in Brazil. I forgot the name, but like
Carandiru.
yeah, Carandiru. I watched a horrible documentary. It's crazy. So it's fair to say, like, does inspiration or these ideas come out of nowhere sometimes, or do you, Derek, Paulo, and Eloy kind of like look for inspiration?
It's hard. What is inspiration? It's like I keep my ideas going all the time. Especially with the smartphone, and have my portable Pro Tools, or even make notations in a piece of paper. You create ideas all the time, and I like that. I love to write music, not only for Sepultura, but I have many different side projects. With different bands, and in Brazil especially, I do soundtracks for TV series and movies and stuff. Which is a whole new world. Of music, and it's great to keep your mind going all the time. So at least for me, it works like that. I have music all over the place, and whatever project I'm in, I can develop whatever melody or idea into a certain Sepultura way, or whatever project I'm working on it. So and I think inspiration it comes when you're ready, when you're prepared, technically, and studying your instrument, and you can play, what's on your mind, because there's a lot of stuff that you like to do it, but you can't,
Of course. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, watching you play guitar live, is a very different, and watching, Sepultura live videos, and it's a completely different experience than simply listening to the album. And, I'll be seeing you in Brooklyn in April. Yeah. So, like, is there a similar energy that you channel into your live presence as you do when you are, like, recording and rehearsing and even writing, or is it a completely separate art altogether with crowd interaction and all that?
I think it's a very different situation. I mean, the stage is it's everything. All the rest is just a consequence. Record albums and doing interviews and traveling, and it's to be on stage. All the rest comes together with that. That's why I think it's crazy that the Beatles stopped playing. The biggest band in the world. They had like a studio career, and for me, music is on stage. That's where it happens, or everything happens. So that's why we feel the best. And we're privileged to have so many opportunities. To play and tour the world. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
You have this new album coming out in March?
February 7th.
February 7th.
Yeah,
I was
pretty
close.
soon, yeah.
Yep. And then I know you're hitting the road with Sacred Reich and Crowbar. Is there just anything else you would like to promote? This will be uploaded by midnight, so if it hasn't been announced. Yeah.
No, that's great. Sacred Reich, Crowbar, and Art of Shock, during March and April here in North America. And the album come out now February 7th. Really excited about Anxious, the two singles that came out really came a great, intense, really feedback, very positive. So, cannot wait really to start being on stage, like I said, and enjoying and really developing the songs further.
Awesome. Well, Andreas, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Everybody, Andreas of Sepultura. Be sure to pick up Quadra out February 7th on Nuclear Blast. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.